And we're ready to go. So, oh my gosh, April 1st. I get April Fool's Day to do our team call, which means I can just tell you lies the entire call and you won't know the difference. And at the very end of dedicating a full hour with me, I'll say April Fool's and it will all have been for naught. So tonight, I'm so pumped to talk to you guys. There's something about a fresh start on a Monday night, first day of the month, April, which to me, like I live in the frozen tundra of Wisconsin. So it feels really good to be going into a month where potentially we might be getting some warm weather on the horizon, although it did snow today. So there was that. Guys, if you could just do me a favor and mute your lines. As much as I love dogs, I don't want to hear them barking. Okay, so tonight's call is, I was trying to think about what I wanted to talk about with you guys, what was on my heart, and what I felt like you needed to hear, even if it was hard to hear. Because this particular topic tonight about the concept of building a business to last, something for the long term, it's so near and dear to my heart, but it didn't come to me easily. And it's something that once I grasped this concept, everything shifted in my, not just my business, my entire life. And what I'm going to do tonight, because this is something that I constantly have the mentors in my life challenging me to do in every way. And I'm going to challenge you, and you're not going to like it. It might make you a little uncomfortable. Unless you're currently naked on this call, I'm going to ask you to show up in full. So like turn off the black camera or the static image. I want to see your faces. I'm going to be scrolling through so I can see people, because I want to speak directly to you. I don't want to talk to that black screen. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to show up. I'm going to, yes, if you're currently naked, you're exempt from this request. Please, for the love of God, and just show up tonight. Be present. Shut your tabs down. Don't have 10 things going at once. Don't be sending your messages right now. Don't be getting back to text messages. Do your best to be with me. That's my challenge to you. And I think that's going to be a tough thing, but I think it's going to be worth it for you, okay? So many of you might not know me too well, or maybe you don't see my name in lights too often. My name's Elizabeth Hartke. But I want to give you a little glimpse into who I am, what my business is like, and what I've done to get it to this place, because I think it's going to speak to a lot of you. And I want to give you a glimpse into what's been happening behind the scenes in my business. And my team can speak to this. If you guys are on the call, you can put in the chat and throw me under the bus, that I do struggle sharing the vulnerable sides of me. I have a hard time talking about money or, the private parts of my life, but I'm going to do my very best to be as forthcoming as I possibly can tonight, in the hopes that it brings value into your life. Okay. So we are a superstar diamond team, a multi-time elite team, and I am a 7-figure earner with Beachbody. And we have unbelievable depth and growth in our organization. And the cool thing is, and what I'm going to talk about tonight, is that growth and that depth is currently there and continuing with or without me. And that's the key of tonight's call. But it wasn't always that way. And I want to share the pieces of my story and what I've done to create a sustainable business that's literally transformed my family's life. So hopefully it can make some small impact on your vision for your business and your future, and what you can do with this, and your approach to how you build your organization, whether you're a brand new coach or you've been in this for longer than I have. It doesn't matter. This will apply to everybody. So to give you a little idea of what my life is today. So I just had my 7-year anniversary as a coach. And today I spent the day, it was a normal Monday. We have an 8-week-old baby. I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. So my life is mass chaos and constant screaming. So you might hear that in the background if my husband can't successfully get the kids fed. But I tried to really pay attention today to what my day felt like, what I was seeing, what I was hearing, what I was feeling. And I was in my office that I'm still kind of in the process of putting together, in this dream farm home that we bought less than a year ago on 12 acres of land. And I could hear my kids, like I said, screaming and yelling and playing in the background. I could see out the window to this beautiful view that I used to dream about having someday. I could just, I was experiencing so many of the things that I used to put on my vision board. And I'm just going to mute the lines, guys. Sorry. I'm easily distracted. So it was kind of like this surreal moment because I took a beat and I actually forced myself to pay attention to what I was experiencing. And so many of the things that I was taking in today were my dream 7 years ago. They were exactly what I always said I wanted, but I didn't know if I'd ever have it. Like being able to build a business and do something that makes a true impact on my little corner of the world while providing for my family. This is our sole income. It has been for several years now. And still being present with my family, being able to go grab lunch with my husband in the kitchen, to be able to come out and read my daughter a book in the middle of the day, and then come back and prep for a call like this, like all of those things. And this call tonight, I'm going to talk a lot about leadership and growth. And I'm going to warn you that some of the things that I'll discuss with you and challenge you to do on this call and beyond this call are going to make you a little uncomfortable because they might not come naturally to you. And some of you might be pissed off by some of the things I say on this call. You might feel blindsided by some of the things I say on this call. You might feel empowered by it, but a few of you are really going to get it, and it's going to literally change everything for you. And you are also going to become one of the top earners in this company because of it. And you're going to build a legacy for your family through this opportunity. And I'm going to preface everything I'm saying by reminding you to take the nuggets that fit you. Okay? Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Don't start over. Don't think that your coach has taught you the wrong way. This is one way of doing things. And I want you to kind of piece it together, because what worked for me might not be what fits the vision for your life. And it also doesn't take anything away from the incredible leaders who have been bringing you value week in and week out, who are crushing it in their businesses and might do it differently. So I'm sharing a culmination of what I was taught, but also what I kind of adapted to fit the vision for my life. So first things first is that vision. Like I talked to you a little bit, it was super simple, right? Like I'm sitting here, I see the friggin' snow falling on April 1st, which is like not funny whatsoever, not a good April Fool's joke out here in Wisconsin, but I'm enjoying the view. I hear my kids, like I told you, those little things, but that was the vision for me 7 years ago. I had to picture in my mind what I really wanted, because this piece is so important. Because yes, I'm going to talk about how you build your business structurally and what you need to work towards and what you need to do. But if you don't know where you ultimately want to go, you won't know how to build your business. And I just asked in my team page a couple hours ago an interesting question. I love the string going on. And I'd encourage you guys to ask this question in your pages too, just to kind of get the conversation going. What's your dream weekly income? And coaches, like even new coaches are putting these numbers out there that are huge and amazing and inspiring. 10,000 a week, 20,000 a week, like big, crazy numbers. That's over 7 figures. That's amazing. But that tells me something. That tells me if I hear those goals, that a lot of these coaches, they want to build for that freedom in their life. They want to build for income. It doesn't mean they love money. It doesn't mean they're greedy. It doesn't mean they even like numbers. You can ask my coaches. I've never been a numbers person, and money really doesn't motivate me. But what it has allowed me to do through this opportunity has dictated how I've built the business. So you need to know 3 things. You need to know what you want, and you need to know why you're here, why you're showing up for this, why you want those things. And then you need to know, how will this business help you achieve that? Because if your answer is like it was for me 7 years ago, I want out of this soul-sucking job, I want out of this rat race that I'm in, then I was probably going to have to build something that was sustainable and residual and allowed me to build an income to grow in that way. But if my answer to that was, well, I like my job, I don't want to leave my job, I want fulfillment and I want recognition and I want to be challenged to grow in a way that, you know, pushes me to be on stage at Summit and to feel like I finally matter, maybe growing for income isn't the way I'm going to build. And there's no shame in that either. You have to know what you want and what you're building for. And so if you say things like, oh, well, I don't care about rank, and then you grow your business for volume, and then you're devastated every time you miss an event, or you don't get to walk across stage as a new rank, or you don't get the accolades, you need to have the courage to evaluate what you really want inside. And if you know your family, they need this income. And it's so important for your future, but you keep setting rank goals or elite goals without looking at how you can maximize the compensation plan. You're literally cutting your legs out from under you, and you're going to end up disappointed time and time again. So you have to know what will drive the ship for you and how to do that. Okay. And all of that has to start with that long-term vision of this entire experience, this business, how you want to see your life play out. And remembering that hope is not a strategy. You can't just wing it. You can't just set the next goal because it feels like the next thing you should do. You know, like I tell coaches all the time, they'll give me their rank advancement goal, and then I'll come back to it and say, wait a minute, you told me you were building for income. If you're pushing for that rank, you actually might be taking away from your potential income because of how you'll have to build to get there. Now, I'm not going to be able to map out legs and draw this all out. You have to work with your upline diamond or star diamond to really understand the comp plan and maximize that. But what I'm telling you is, don't just pick a goal because it sounds like a good thing. You have to really understand this, okay? And this is as important as it for a brand new coach as it is for someone who's been around the block for a long time. And this is an ongoing, and really it's like an evolutionary process that you have to keep doing. And I struggled with this for a long time because I was one of those coaches who was speaking out of two sides of her mouth, and I didn't know what was required of me to achieve certain things. So I want to look at how I build and how I've built my business and how I'm currently building my business and why I've done it that way, because I think it might apply to you guys. I am building one impact at a time. Okay. And this means that it took me longer to see the growth than maybe some other people saw. They may have seen it more quickly than me because of how I built. But I built something that compounded, truly was like the compound effect over time, but it sustains and it's continued to grow. And when the business had ups and downs, my business was steady and strong and continuing to grow. And I'm teaching you some foundational principles that will never change, because it's important to know the like social media stuff. I'm not disregarding that stuff. It's just not what I'm focusing on tonight. But those things can change. I'm talking about principles that like applied 20 years ago when Amway was a network marketing business that was, you know, on the scene, and it will apply 30 years from now when we're selling flying cars through network marketing or whatever. Like, these are foundational principles. So early on in my business, I was trying to sell as much as I could, as quickly as I could, and recruit as much as I could, because I thought that's what you had to do. And I thought it was numbers, you know, like, especially because I kept being told, well, you know, only 1 out of 10 people is probably going to sign with you. And then each, like, you have to sign like 10 people before you get that one that's going to be a runner. So the numbers were against me. So I thought, okay, quantity, I need a lot of people, and then hopefully I'll get some quality out of that. But then I learned that I was taking the relationships out of the equation because of how I was building. And I do believe that in the beginning, if you're a newer coach, there is a balance of like hustle, grow, recruit, sell, so you can build your foundation, your base, your network, your team. But then when I started to shift into building relationships, that's where everything really changed for me, including my income. So one of the most fundamental things that I've done since the beginning, well, close to the beginning to today, and what my coach taught me, is I host three-way calls. Okay, so this is, I know you guys are going to want some tactical stuff, so this is one of those tactical things, three-way calls. So what does that mean? Basically, if I had a coach, and my coach did this for me initially, okay, so we'll use that example first. My coach, Keith Callahan, he told me in the beginning, hey, if you have someone interested in buying Shakeology or getting started with the coaching opportunity or wants to learn more about it, instead of you as a brand new coach who doesn't really have too much of a story yet, trying to like blab at them about something that you haven't fully lived through yet, why don't you just, the three of us will hop on a call, And I'll speak to kind of my successes in the business and my story and my journey to get here. But then you're still there to answer their questions and be that connection because they connected with you. And he would kind of do it for me. And he did this for me only a couple times because he said, pay attention. You're going to do this. I'm going to do this a couple times for you, and you're going to learn how to do it yourself. So then I got to a place where I was able to do it, and I was able to speak one-on-one with my prospects without him. And I'd get people on the phone. But then I got to a place in leadership growth where I felt like, okay, now I can offer this to my coaches and my downline. And I started to allow my coaches to reach out when they had a prospect, they had somebody that was interested, and do the same thing that Keith did for me. So Three-Way calls, it was helping my coaches to get their prospect on to speak about the business opportunity. But this did a few different things. One, it taught them how I spoke about the products and the business, which meant leading up to that, I had to learn how to speak about the products and the business. I had to do my homework. I had to get more confident. I had to practice. This also added credibility for them, because instead of them being like, yeah, I don't really know, like, I think Shakeology is great, I've been drinking it for about a week, or, I hear the business opportunity, like, you probably could make a lot of money because I've heard you can. They're actually getting on with someone who is successful, and they can hear directly from the horse's mouth their story and connect with a real person who's seeing real results. So it adds credibility for that prospect. It also creates duplication, and that's what you want as a coach. That's how you build a sustainable business. And I'm going to get to that part. And it builds trust because people want to connect with a real person. I think we fall into this trap of like, invite through these cold messages, or even continued conversations all through the instant message or I'm old school, direct message or whatever, through Messenger or email. But there's something about hearing someone's voice and hearing their conviction, or seeing them face to face on a Zoom or in person, that creates that connection. And it also teaches your team to create that culture of connection so that they're not falling into that trap of like just sending a billion messages and just seeing what sticks. They're actually making a real live connection with one person. So one impact at a time is how I've built my business. And something that Keith taught me that was so powerful is so basic. He always used to say, I do it, you watch, we do it, you do it. And that was the process. And he did it for everything for me. So it was the Three-Way call. He would do it and I would watch him do it. So that was him speaking on that call and me observing and learning so that I could go do it. Then we would do it. So I would take the lead, but he would be there as a support, kind of acting as bumpers for me to keep me in the lane. And then I would do it. And then it was my responsibility. And it helped me grow in leadership and become empowered and continue to grow my business that way. And I use that for my coaches too. And it applies to so many different things. Running a training. All right. Yep. You're a brand new coach. You're going to be signing up new coaches. I don't expect you to start your own training. I'll do it. You watch how I do it. Then we do it together. And then you go out and you host your own trainings. And you can use that for so many different things. But it's such an important piece of the puzzle when you're teaching that duplication. Another really old school, I was raised in the old school when it comes to Beachbody, okay? My coaches were not like social media savvy. They weren't in the spotlight much, but they're some of the highest earners in the company. So I immensely respected what my leadership was teaching me. So we actually used to host local events. Sometimes, like one of the first events I went to, my coach Keith, who I didn't know, by the way, I met Keith because he left brochures for Shakeology, talk about old school, in a yoga studio. And I went to that yoga studio as, a client of the yoga studio, nothing to do with Shakeology. And I was about 60 pounds overweight at the time. So I saw this brochure for Shakeology, and Keith's name and email was like literally scribbled on the back of this brochure. So I called some stranger to buy this product, and I was always saying no to the opportunity, but he eventually invited me to this local event that he was hosting on his own. He had rented out some space in a hotel. In retrospect, I'm like, okay, I literally went to meet a strange man at a hotel. This is like, I was like 23 or something, not really thinking. So anyway, he used to host local events and he taught me how to do it. And he invited me to speak at one once. And basically it was like a live business opportunity where Keith and a couple other coaches would get up and just share their story. Or like, I remember times where if someone was local, someone that was interested in the business was local, instead of having a three-way call, we would literally like sit around my kitchen table with Keith, or meet at a coffee shop, or go to the person's house. Or I'd encourage my coaches to have shake and shares. Like if you're new to the business, you probably have no idea what I'm even talking about. I don't know if people even do them anymore. But it was essentially like, I would tell my coaches, hey, invite like 10 of your girlfriends over for wine and Shakeology. And we're going to blend up some Shakeology and teach them what we're doing with it. And I would drive like 2 or 3 hours to go to their house and speak about the products. Why was I doing that? And I know it doesn't seem like a great use of time. It was because it gave us a chance to connect. And yes, there's a huge gift in social media. I use it all the time to allow us to reach so many more people every single day. But how many people are we actually connecting with and building that relationship with? So use all of your tools, and this is one of them. And getting people on the phone is like, I do it all the time. And when I'm not doing three-way calls to help my coaches, if I have a prospect that I'm talking to on social media that I'm like, oh my God, this person would be amazing at coaching. Yes, I might make that initial connection on social media, but I move it to the phone as fast as I can. And I try to keep it really simple too. I don't make it into this big scary thing for them to get on the phone with me. I just say, yeah, you know what? I could like literally write you a novel on here on what this whole coaching thing is about since you're interested in it, but I'm going to spare you. Why don't we just hop on the phone real quick? And that way you can pepper me with whatever questions you might have and I'll answer, and you can see for yourself if this is right for you. So I'm moving them to the phone because I want them to know I'm real and I want to get to know them. And guys, I'm not checking the chat at the moment because like I'm the squirrel girl that I will get so distracted and forget where I left off, but I will check the chat in a little bit. So let's address what you're all probably thinking, depending on how you run your business, is who the hell has time for that? I'll tell you who. People who aren't recruiting a ton of people. And I've never been one to be recruiting a ton of people. Now, does it mean it's wrong to recruit a ton of people or that you can't be successful if you recruit a ton of people? No. It just is not how I've ever wanted to build my business. It's not how I ever want to build my business. And it's not how I build my business. So I would rather bring in 1, 2, 3 coaches in a month this way than 20 plus coaches who don't get my time or attention because I don't have it to give. And that's just me. Like I have 3 little kids. They're my priority. They're my focus. And I have a husband who I want to have a great marriage with. So I don't want to be on the phone all the time with a billion different people. This is the zone where I've personally seen the most success. And I have tried it both ways. And I'll address how you can find success in doing it this way in a bit. So whenever I get out of a groove and I feel like I'm in a rut, and I start complaining to my husband, like, oh, maybe I've lost my mojo. I don't know how to do this anymore. No one wants to sign up with me, blah, blah, blah. All the nonsense that we tell ourselves. And I write this whole narrative on what's not true. I come back to this practice. I say, okay, I'm going to give myself 1 week of getting some calls on the books. And then boom, like that, my business is right back on track. So this is continually over 7 years. This has never changed. All the algorithms can change. This never changes. And I want to, now this next part, especially if there's some veteran coaches on this call, I'm curious to hear your opinion on this. So I'll like pay attention to the chat for a second, only because I know my business really well, but I don't know everybody else's. I want to share some stats with you. Now, like I said, I'm not really a numbers person, but I went into my online office and I wanted to make sure that I was giving some accurate numbers. I want to paint a picture for you that might be a little like gasp worthy. So I've been a coach for 7 years. I have a 7-figure earning business. We're a superstar diamond team. I have multiple business centers, all earning. I have a total in the 7 years accumulated, like currently right now, I have a total of 89 personally sponsored coaches in my business. Okay, so that's it. Seven years, 89 coaches, many of them inactive, whatever. Of those 89 coaches, I have about 20 personally sponsored coaches who are really working the business. Like they're the ones that I would give some, in some capacity, some of my time. They're not like necessarily rock stars. They're working the business. 20. From those 20 coaches working the business, from those 20 people, we have over 10,000 coaches in our organization. And not a single one of those over 10,000 coaches has come from my upline. They are all from me and those 20 coaches. Now I'm going to let that sink in for just a sec. Is that like crazy to anyone else? Because that's not a lot of people. That's my point. Like that's a small number. I've been a coach for 7 years. From 20 people, 10,000 coaches, over 10,000 and growing. So I want to let you in on a little secret. It's not like me and those 20 other coaches are recruiting a ton of people. The reason that those are our numbers is because we have depth in our organization. We have leadership in our organization, and we have duplication on duplication on duplication. So, and if you're new and this is confusing, just stay with me. I'm going to keep breaking this stuff down. My coach Keith always taught me, and maybe you guys have heard this in some form. You want to build a 7-figure a year business, you need 5 5-stars in your organization. Not personally sponsored 5 stars, 5 5-stars in your organization. And a lot of people think that that means they're trying to find a needle in a haystack, right? Because it's hard to find that go-getter. It's hard to find that runner. So they recruit like 100 people and hope that one is a gem. Versus trying to recruit someone, getting to know them, and pouring into them until they become that 5-star. One takes so much less time and energy, but yields so much more of a reward. When you build this way, you're building something that will outlast you. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a business that would stand the test of time, even if I fell off the face of the earth. If I died tomorrow, I've worked with a lawyer to get my business all set up that it would get passed down and it would sustain my family because of the depth and growth in my organization with or without me. Not a lot of people understand the power that they have in their hands through this opportunity. And I also chose early on to build for volume and income first and rank secondarily. Rank is not unimportant. So I'm gonna debunk that myth real quick, because by saying I built for volume and income first, it doesn't mean that I disregarded rank. We're a superstar diamond team. Obviously, we built for rank at some point, but it was just secondary to income and volume. And I just didn't build at the expense of my income. So you need to identify and build based on what you want and what you need in your life and why you need it. Okay? Does that make sense? Sorry, guys. I have a really scratchy throat. So if you're interested in building a strong and steady business that continues to grow and withstand the ups and downs of life and industry, like we saw what happens when we switched to digital. If some of you guys have been around for a few years, some people acted like the sky was falling. No, we're a part of a business. There are changes, there are ups, there are downs. You can't expect to always be like on this perfect little hockey stick upward. But when you build this way, you withstand those things. And I strongly recommend, if that's something you're interested in, that you consider building for volume and income first. And it might mean you have to trade in some of those moments where your names could be in lights in certain periods of this business, but it gives you freedom and a true passive income. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is, once I made that decision, how do I mentor my people? Because when you have, like, I think people fall under the misconception of like, okay, I'm going to sit here and just try to pluck out all the perfect leaders out of the world and just raise them up and into leaders, and I'll get my 5 stars in my organization and then I'll just start making money. No. This type of building requires more mentorship, more time with people, more investment in the people you're connecting with. So the way I mentor is I dig really deep with my people and I play the long game. And like I said, that doesn't reward me as much as some other people got rewarded in the beginning. But my goal is to help them break through and become the person they were meant to become using this opportunity. So it's my mission when I connect with a new coach that I 7 years in, you kind of have like some intuition. I get that feeling of like, okay, this person's got it. Like, I know that they have it in them. I can't predict whether they're going to do the work. I can't predict whether they're going to show up, whether they're ever going to get to that place where they believe in themselves as much as I believe in them. But I feel like they're worth my time. And I start to pour into them. So I do my getting started right calls with them. And we still focus on the vitals and their goals. Like, I'm not ignoring things like Success Starters or Success Club or helping them hit Emerald in the beginning, but we don't live there. Like, that's not our sole focus. They know that those are just the stepping stones to the bigger picture, to becoming the person they're meant to be, to using this opportunity to get to where they ultimately want to go in their life. And then we talk about that in full. So what are my conversations like from day one with my coaches? We talk about their purpose. Like, what do they feel like they're being called to? What are their struggles in their life? Are the things that they would really want to change, whether it's, day-to-day stresses financially or emotionally, or the things that they want to achieve but they haven't gotten to yet. And we also anticipate what might get in their way. I ask them, okay, so you're about to do something really cool. Like, you're about to build a business. You're about to create something that could change your family's life. Not right away though. Like, you're going to have to be in it and fighting for this thing for a few years. And I don't sugarcoat that. I tell them, yeah, you can make some money up front. Like, we can build this thing. You can get your shake paid for. You can make even more money than that. But if you have to tell me if you want this long term, like if you want something to change your family's future, we got to start anticipating some of the roadblocks and the hurdles that you're going to hit. And then I can align them with the tools and the resources that are going to help them work through those things should they get in their way. We set the vision. I have them dreaming really big, and we talk a lot about belief. And it used to drive me crazy because I would call my coach and I would say, all right, Keith, so I'm pushing for diamond. What do I have to do to get there? And I'm thinking he's going to be like, all right, Liz, you need to do A, B, C, and it's going to get you D. Like, that's, message this many people, say this to them, do this, you'll get to there. Never with Keith. He never talked to me that way. It was always like, all right, well, what do you believe you need to do? Or who do you feel like you need to become? It was always like this kind of focusing on the emotion and my belief and where my head was at. And it used to get me so mad because I was like, is he just like skirting around telling me what I need to do? This is so frustrating. Just tell me what I need to do. But it was never about that. It was about who I had to become to get to where I wanted to go. And he was always helping me have these breakthroughs. It was like he was like almost borderline a therapist for me, or like we'll say a life coach or something, because he never let me get trapped in the day-to-day. If I had failures in the day-to-day, he always helped me pull myself out of those failures, the emotion from that day-to-day. He's like, you're not working for today. You're working for the long term. Get your head in the game. Where are you going? What do you want? Get back to that place and move on. He always taught me how you have to we need to become the person capable of achieving the success we say we want. So for example, you might have a goal of diamond or 2-star diamond or 5-star diamond or 15-star diamond or emerald or whatever your vision is. Instead of saying, what do I have to do to get to diamond? Like, what are the physical things I have to do to get to diamond? You have to ask yourself, who do I have to become to get to diamond? What is required of me? What do I need to work towards in me as a leader who is worthy of achieving diamond? And I know that's kind of such a vague thing and it drives people crazy, but I promise you, you keep working through that. That's how you get to where you ultimately want to go. And it was funny. I was having a conversation. My brother is 7 years younger than me. And he was out here visiting and we were talking about it. And he's like, yeah, I just don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life. Sometimes I think, maybe I want to get into this and I want to get into that. And it's like, and he's like, I really want to have a family someday, and I want to be a dad, and I want to meet the right person. And stop trying to get to those things. Just become the person who has those things. Who do you have to become to be the person who's in their dream job? Who do you have to become to be the man who attracts the person that God intends for them to be by their side for the rest of their life? And when you start doing that and you start working towards that, it falls into place. It happens. Those things happen. And it might not happen on your exact timeline, but it happens. This is not intended to be a shameless plug for my podcast, but I do think there was an episode that I launched today with this guy named Anthony Trucks. Literally just the most remarkable human being. Went through the foster care system his whole life. His mom gave him and his siblings up when he was 3. He was tortured by his foster families, just went through hell. And he's one of the happiest people I've ever met in my life. Former NFL player. He's an American Ninja Warrior. He's a pretty cool guy. And he talks about this concept of have, be, do. We all operate in life saying, if I have the thing, right? Like, so if I achieve diamond, then so it's like, if I have the thing, then I'll be that thing and then I can do the thing. So if I just get to diamond, then I'll be where I need to be and then I can achieve X, Y, Z. I just need to do this first. But the way we need to operate is if I do the thing, if I become the thing, then I will get that thing. You have to flip it on its head. And that's how he's survived his entire life and gone from surviving to thriving. So his name's Anthony Trucks, and it's on the Scaling Up podcast, and it just launched today. And he goes into, like, when I was interviewing him, I just kept thinking, like, I have to get this out to our network, because this man, he doesn't know anything about Beachbody coaching. He doesn't know about what we do, but he's speaking directly into the soul of who we are and what we need. And I'm also not afraid to tell my coaches when they're struggling, like they're pushing for a goal and they're like, I'm doing everything, I'm trying to do everything and it's not working. I'm not afraid to tell them either, take a day or two and get your head right instead of continuing to try to plow through this nose down, even if it means it's going to affect my numbers. Even if my elite numbers really need them to hit Success Club this month and it's the last 2 days of the month and I see them crumbling with what they're trying to do, I don't care. I'm not playing this game for March or April. I'm playing it for the rest of my life, for my family's future. So if I see one of my coaches in that place, it's like, I don't give a shit about Success Club. Go get your head in the game. Figure out what's wrong. Figure out why you are in this place and who you have to become to get to where you want to go. And reminding them that they're in it for the long haul. They're building something that's going to change the course of their life. Stop playing small. And when I also, when I find a coach, someone who gets it, and they're willing to be in the trenches with me, and they're willing to do the heart work that I'm talking about, that's required of them to achieve their potential, I know then exactly where to put my time and energy. And I also am not afraid to dig into my downline. This is something that has helped create wealth in my organization like you wouldn't believe. I don't just work with my personally sponsored coaches. I look in my downline, and if I see someone hitting Success Club 30, but they're at like Emerald, or I see someone hitting, Success Club 10 over and over and over again, but they're not advancing their volume and they're not making any more money, I reach out to them and I'm like, all right, they obviously understand something. They're doing something right. They can recruit, but why aren't they building in leadership? Why aren't they growing as a person? What can I do to help them? What I do is I pull their coach in with me. I don't just step over their coach and say, oh, I'll just mentor them. I pull their coach in with me, assuming their coach is working the business in some way. And I say, let's do this together, because I want to go back to that point of I do it, you watch, we do it, you do it. I want their coach to figure out how to coach them so that I can then step out and then they can keep growing their coaches. And when I have coaches that aren't ready for that they're willing to like hit Success Club and do the stuff, but they don't want to do the inner work, I still give them some of my time. I don't cut them out because of that. They're still working. They're still, checking off their business activity tracker, but they're not getting all of my energy. They're not getting my heart and soul. And there's a difference. And I do pour into my coaches differently, not because I like some better than others. I just pour into them based on what they're ready for and what they're willing to receive. And that's the key. Not everyone's going to receive what you think they're worthy of, because they might not think that yet. And you can only do so much as far as helping them see that. So I also get that this can be really hard to balance with also hitting goals and growing within the company. And that's why I had to create my own version of this. I knew I had to set certain baseline like growth standards for myself as far as Beachbody goes. Like I hit Success Club 10 every month, non-negotiable. I stay in the vitals. I do those things. But to me, those are like having a pulse. Like they're not, I don't talk about them here because one, they're not the focus of this call. And two, like, it's like, yeah, no kidding. Like obviously you have to do those things. You have to be inviting. You have to be sharing on social media. We also did things like push for rank at different times. It's not that I'm saying those aren't important or of value, but those are like my baseline. And I pour my energy elsewhere into people. And I also know that they're not my end game. They're just the means to the end. And if something doesn't go right with them, or if I have a frustrating week or frustrating month, I don't live there because it doesn't matter. I'm not building for this month. I'm not even building for this year. I set my goals 5 years out. I'm growing for the long term. And I achieve those things each month because I'm in perpetual motion. They aren't the goal. The vision is the goal, at least for me. So I'm not at all saying that you can just sit there and like to find or create your leaders from your ivory tower. You have to live in the trenches and get your hands dirty like a good leader does. And you have to just set those solid standards of what you're pushing for and what you're willing to achieve each month or each year or whatever it is. And you stay committed to those standards, but you have to set that precedent and the culture within your team to do the same. However, those aren't the reasons you're here. Because I'll tell you right now, if you are training your coaches solely on hit Success Club, make more income, grow your volume, like just those vitals, they're going to lose their vital sign. They're not going to care. If they don't have something they're plowing ahead for when life throws them 1,000 curveballs, because it will, if they're not invested in that bigger vision and they don't understand that they're building something for the long term, they're going to quit. They're going to fizzle. They're going to take a step back. They're going to do all those things that it's like, oh, why am I even here? Like, I don't even care about this anymore. You know, that trip that I'm working to earn, that's not enough. Michael, my husband, Michael always said, so it's such a bummer, but for the last like 5 years, I've had to miss the Success Club trip because I've either been pregnant or have a brand new baby. Like we have an 8-week-old, so I missed this last one. Or I've been too pregnant to travel, or I've been pregnant and there's a Zika risk and I just haven't been able to go. And I remember being so bummed that first year I couldn't go. And it was like, oh my gosh, I'm devastated. Like I hit Success Club every month for this. And my husband's like, Liz, you didn't hit Success Club every month for this trip. You're hitting Success Club every month because that's what you do. You run a business. That's one of your core principles as a business owner. This is just like one of the things you have to do. But the reason you're growing this business is so that we can take a trip whenever the hell we want. We don't need to wait for Beachbody to like create some trip for us. And I love the trips Beachbody does. And they're way more extravagant than anything we'd be willing to do for ourselves. But the point is, you're building this thing for the long haul. You're not building it just for that trip. That's a perk. You don't build this for a perk. Or maybe you do, but I don't. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They get so caught up in the hustle and the grind of this month's goal or this year's rank. They aren't thinking 3, 5, 10 years down the road. And one of the things I want to talk to you guys about is that how you do that. And it's a principle that my coach, Keith, actually just wrote a book, and I'm totally plugging it for him because a lot of the stuff, well, it comes from that book, but not really. That book is exactly how he taught me. So it comes from how he's taught me over the last 7 years. And the book is called Built to Last, or Build to Last. And he talks in that book, and this is a John Maxwell principle, become a leader of leaders. And this is something you can do from day one, guys. It doesn't matter if you're brand new on this call. Know where and how to invest your time, okay? You're becoming a leader of leaders. And there's a John Maxwell quote that says, a leader of followers needs to be needed. A leader of leaders wants to be exceeded. I'm going to say that one more time for the people in the back. A leader of followers needs to be needed, but a leader of leaders wants to be exceeded. You have to have that vision, and you have to swallow your ego, because let me tell you, I had to battle with this one. I had to get to a place where I was like, oh my gosh, I actually want my coaches to exceed me. I don't care about my rank anymore. I care about their rank. I don't care about my goals. I care about their goals. I want to see them grow, and I don't want to be needed. And it's painful because sometimes you see your team call numbers go down because you know what's happening? Your leaders are flying the nest and they're having their own team calls. It's a really good thing. Or, you know, you're seeing the traction in your team page be a little bit less and you're wondering why, but then you're seeing what your leaders are doing and you know it's because they've gone off and they've started their own things and they're leading. That's exactly what you want to happen, and it takes time. I now base my success on how my team is doing, and more importantly, how they're doing without me. And this will ultimately for me be the determining factor as to whether I've built a business that will stand the test of time. And I'm grateful and humbled to say that I have. So you have to ask yourself, is this business right now, the one you're running or the one that you're building? Maybe it's not the one you're running currently because you're new, but what are you working towards? If you're working towards one that's going to be totally dependent on you forever, how many people you're recruiting, how many challenge packs you're selling, how many challenge groups you're running, is that what you want? Or are you building something that's going to be sustainable for the long term? A truly successful network marketing business, in my opinion, becomes passive and ever growing. Yeah, you can't just abandon it, but I just took like several months basically off, aside from my standards, being there for my coaches as much as I could, because I had a baby and my income grew every week. I had one of my highest paychecks that I've ever had while I was completely checked out. That's just like limitless potential in your hands. You cannot waste it. It's too precious. So few people get to experience that in their lives. It builds more freedom that way, more income, more time, and more room for your leaders to grow into who they're meant to be. And I know incredible coaches who live in the hustle, but if they check out, their business takes a hit. And everything is dependent on them. How many successful points they're earning, how many people they're recruiting, how many challenge packs they're selling, how much time they're spending. And if you were to break down the amount of hours that they have to put into the business because of how they build versus how much money they make, they're hardly making anything because they have to be grinding all the time. And I also know coaches who love that. If you love that, that's great. I don't. I love the fact that I've built something that I can check in on about 3 hours a day, take weekends off, take weeks off at a time. Last year, we took 12 weeks of vacation. And guys, when I take vacation, I am excellent at taking vacation. It is actually one of my skill sets that I would put at the top of my resume because I can shut my phone off for a week at a time, no problem. I am not one of those people who has to be in it. And it doesn't matter because my team is so amazing And my leaders have grown into the people they are meant to be, that they don't need me. But I like coming back because I love what I do. And that's a gift. And when you duplicate yourself over and over in your organization, when you live in the trenches, but you become the leader and the person you're born to become, and you work through all the crap in your life, because there's always a lot of crap, and you help your individual coaches do that, and they help their coaches do that, and you're perpetuating not just a culture of business duplication, but of leadership duplication, and you start to attract more of that into your business and your life, and it creates this unlimited growth potential. And potential, I have to tell you a funny story. So I know we're close to the end of time. That sounds dramatic. Close to the end of our time. You guys know Kim Carver with Beachbody. He's like God's gift to Beachbody, truly, I believe that. And he's become one of my dearest friends. And I remember I was hosting my first leadership retreat for my team. And I was trying to get like all the higher, I was kind of a nobody at the time. And I think our team had just hit 10-star or something. And I was trying to get like Jeff Hill and Michael Neiman and one of them to send one of those corporate guys out. And I get an email saying, we're sending Kim Carver. They're new with Beachbody and they'll be coming out to your retreat. And I'm like, who the hell is she? No idea that Kim was a man. And he ended up being one of the best. And I only will have Kim at my retreats now. Like he is, I mean, every year we've had him at our team retreats. And this last year, 2 years ago, maybe, I can't remember, 3 years ago, we were having our team retreat at this beautiful mansion in Lake Winnipesaukee. We were a superstar diamond team. We had so much to celebrate. We had, Kim came out for it again. We had so many of our leaders there. And Kim like kind of grabbed me when all the girls, I think it was like the day we were doing professional pictures or something. And so there was some downtime when the girls were getting their makeup done. And he's like, hey, let's snag a little time that we can chat too, because we never got to get to catch up because Kim does one-on-ones with all my diamonds there. And he pulls me aside, and I kind of am like going into it thinking like, oh, Kim's going to like pat me on the back. Look what I've built. Look what I've done. This is amazing. He's probably so proud of me. And we sit down and he's like really hesitant and kind of sweating and like looking funny. And I'm like, you okay? He's like, do I have permission to just put it all out there and be honest with you? And I was like, yeah, sure. What's up? And he like literally blurted it out like he was throwing it up. He said, you are drastically living under your potential. And I was like, wow, that was not what I was expecting. And I was like, and you had to throw drastically in there and make it like that much more intense. What do you mean? And we had this true conversation and so authentic and so honest, where he just made me see that I had gotten complacent and that I was living under my potential. I wasn't pouring into people anymore. I was kind of happy that the money was coming in and that my team was operating at this, incredible level that my coaches were operating at. But he said, Liz, you are being called to more than what you're living up to. And at what point are you going to decide to do something about it? Because I know you, and I know that this isn't going to be okay with you pretty soon. And he was so right. I had been in this like kind of place of turmoil and change in my life where there was something inside me stirring up, feeling like so unsettled, and I didn't know what it was. And it was exactly that. So I would challenge you and ask you that same question. What is it in your life, in your business, that you're drastically, to be dramatic like Kim, living under your potential? Because you deserve so much more than that. You deserve to be so much more than that. And you are so much more than that, but you have to live up to it. You have to become the person who achieves the thing. And since I know I'll get crucified if I don't leave you guys with some actionable, tangible things, I'm going to give you my quick, short list of things that aren't as esoteric or in nature as this call has been. So, because I know you guys are like, okay, that's all great, but how do I do that? So some of this will be a review of what I've already said, and I'm just going to rattle them off. Three-way calls. Write it down. Do them. Those are like life in this business. Getting people on the phone. So when you have someone interested in this business opportunity, don't just plug them into a sneak peek. Don't just keep messaging them. Get them on the phone. In-person events and opportunities. Guys, we have we have Super Saturday coming up in 2 weeks. 1, you better be at one. But 2, invite someone to go with you. Get your prospects there. At the very least, get your team there. In-person events and opportunities are huge. Set short-term goals based on your long-term vision and revisit this monthly to make sure that you're still in alignment, because you shift 1 degree off course, you're going to end up in the wrong state in about 40 miles. So are you setting goals that actually align with what you ultimately want for your life? Okay, next thing. When you're mentoring your coaches, dig deeper with them. Build that real connection. Push them. Ask them for permission to push them and build that relationship. It's your job to inspire them and guide them to live up to their full potential. And you can do that through this opportunity. And the cool thing is that this opportunity also pays. Live in the trenches with your coaches. I'm happy to share, I have this, I keep it on my desk. It's so basic because I'm so basic. I have my on the daily checklist. I'll share it with the other leaders of this call. And I'm telling you, it's not going to rock your socks off. It's pretty simple. I bet our business activity tracker would do just fine, but I like making my own checklists. I'm happy to share it, but just live in the trenches. Next thing, ask yourself every day what you can do to be a better leader of leaders. And chances are that means you becoming a better leader first. You're looking for duplication and depth, and not just creating amazing systems that you can plug your people into, but identifying who in your downline you can nurture and help them become the best version of themselves. Read the book, Build to Last. That's a good suggestion because it's basically all the stuff I'm talking about wrapped up with a bow. Next thing is take the nuggets of wisdom and action from other leaders. Things like Instagram trainings, challenge groups, all those things are important. Do them well. Make them standard though. Don't make them your sole focus. And those are important. They just weren't the focus of today's call. Another thing, study and master leadership. I don't care if you signed up yesterday. There is nothing stopping you from becoming a true leader. John Maxwell, anything, Dave Ramsey. There's so many, Brennan Burchard, there are so many people, Brene Brown, who master leadership and teach you how to become one, how to tap into your true potential. So utilize those people. And the last thing I'd say is if you really want to build something to last, is understand the compensation plan. You don't need to know it inside and out. I certainly can't rattle it off. But know how to build that volume culture in your team, how to create more volume, which leg you should be strengthening, how to maximize the amount of money you can making, and how you can build it for a long term and create that culture within your downline so it's perpetually growing. And I just shared these thoughts with an incredible coach of mine who's experiencing one of those down moments in her life and in her business, which is territory. It comes with the territory of the hiccups right at the end of the call. It comes with the territory, it comes with this business. And I just want to share with you, summarize what I told her, which is, patience, persistence, and resolve are the marks of a champion. And that doubt that creeps in, it's so fully human, but it's a part of the journey, that doubt, but it's about what you do with it. So you can sit in it for like a half an hour and take what you can learn from that doubt and take what you can learn from those emotions. And if it teaches, it's a gift, but quick action makes it better. And staying so true to your long-term vision makes it better. You're not here to build something for today. You're not here to hang your hat on what has happened up to this point. You're here to build something that lasts for you, for your future, and for your family. So you have to ask yourself what you're willing to do to make that happen, because it's not going to happen overnight. And I'm talking to the people who are ready to build something that's going to like literally shift their future forever. And there's some tough decisions and some hard work that come with that. But I'm so confident that if I can do it, anyone else can. And I'm sorry I ran a little late, but thank you so much for your time, guys. And I'm really sorry if I didn't look at the chat like even once. That's so horrible. I'm just scrolling through it now to make sure I didn't miss questions. Are there any questions? And since we ran long, I'll be brutally honest if I feel like it's a question that I can't answer here tonight. But if you've typed something already and I missed it, just retype it, because I probably won't be able to scroll all the way back up. How are you attracting people that are okay with being a slow building business? It's not that it has to be a slow building business. It's that the magic doesn't happen fast. It's not that I'm attracting people who are okay with that. It's that I'm connecting with people and empowering them to see the vision for their future that they believe so strongly in, that they're willing to play the long game. Podcast is called Scaling Up. What personal development do I recommend to help people build belief in themselves? I like Brene Brown. I have a whole wall here. Hold on, let me look. What are my favorites? I love John Maxwell. I think it's the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. If anyone else has suggestions, feel free to share them there. Oh, I thought the Rachel Hollis's stuff, Girl Wash Your Face, and her newest one, Stop Apologizing, are really good for belief in yourself. I don't have a resource that I love for building volume instead of rank personally, but I don't know, maybe one of the other leaders might have it. How long did it take you to get a business that would last? I guess that's a tough question to answer, because I knew pretty early on that's what I wanted. So I made that decision. So I had that business. It just wasn't paying like a business that would last. So I don't know. I mean, like, it depends if you're thinking of a specific number. I would say it took me like a couple years to be building a continually growing team cycle bonus income. And guys, if you're struggling to find like details about the comp plan, FAQs in the online office are super helpful to answer those kind of questions. I'm sure. How do you get people to work when you know they need it? You can't get people to do anything. Sometimes they're not ready for it, but it's giving them the resources, but also connecting with them and believing in them and inspiring them to take action on something that they want anyway. They just don't know where to start. You're kind of there as a guide. So you don't really, there are plenty of people, more often than not, that I believe in them and I know that they could do it, but they don't do it. So that's something we can't control. All right, guys. Well, I'm so grateful for everyone's time tonight, really. And I know, I know that some people are going to come out. It's like anything. You hear great info or you learn something that inspires you, and it's all about what you do with it from there. So tonight is not even, the first steps happen from after this call forward. And I know you guys are so beyond capable. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you again. A
Thank
million
you.
times over. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Have a good night.
You too.